Welcome all gamers, achievement hunters, friends, and loyal fans to TBD Gaming, the video game broadcasting and review channel where we keep it real. I am the Black Deesh, the jack of all games and master of none. Today I'm going to talk about everything you need to know before you play the game Road 96. Road 96 was released August 16th, 2021 for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC for a price of $19.99. It was developed by Digix Art and published by Digix Art, Ravenscourt Plug-in Digital, and Plyon. It's rated T for teen for mild blood, suggestive themes, drug references, violence, language, and use of alcohol and tobacco. File size is about 13.9 gigabytes, so a pretty mid-sized game, this one. There's 12 achievements for 1,000 gamer score. How Long to Beat has it How Long to Beat has it rated at about 10 hours. It took me 7 hours, 10 minutes. And if you track your achievements on trueachievement.com, this is going to get you 1,540 true achievement points. And it rates it a little lower, 6 to 8 hours, which I think is really accurate. I mean, obviously, I completed it in just over 7. So you're looking at about 7 to 10 hours on this game, depending on how quickly you want to get through it. If you want to enjoy more levels than there are, etc., etc. And I'll get into why there are more levels than normal. It kind of seems weird that you could complete a game without completing all the levels, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Road 96, it's essentially a road trip. It's a road trip indie game, and it's an adventure game. So it's essentially you are in a fictional country called Petria, and there's a whole political debacle going on, a lot of unrest in the country, and you're essentially just trying to get away from the country. And you do so several different times, playing as several different teens that are hitchhiking, riding the bus, stealing cars, and driving them across the country, essentially just trying to get away from the political unrest and madness of the country. It's a really interesting game. I enjoyed this one. I mean, you meet a lot of different people, you follow their stories as different individuals. The style is different than anything I've ever played. So this is a really unique title if you want to experience a good story and just kind of see, people grow from different perspectives, I think is probably the best way to put it. Things I really liked, obviously, the story. It's gripping. It's interesting, and it's definitely one that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat as you continue to complete objectives and get these different teenagers out of the country. You'll progress throughout the story. The game is really well thought out. And the dialogue is fantastic. You'll make meaningful connections and experience, different things with different characters. It's really easy to love those that help you. And, it is kind of interesting to see what decisions that you make will impact, your relationship with those people or their story in general. So there's a lot going on in this game. Things I didn't really like, the graphics. They're not my favorite. It's first person, and the graphics honestly feel like they could have come from something that was published on PlayStation 1 or Nintendo 64. And it's funny because the game is set in 1996 when those platforms were really popular. So the order is odd as well. It's another big con for me. Essentially, the game plays out in chapters that are around 8 to 10 to 12 minutes long, and the chapters come in a random order every single time you play it. So it's tough to follow a guide. If you want to follow a guide, you kind of have to bounce around because your game isn't going to play out the same way any guide's game would play. So you kind of have to either get good at figuring out the puzzles for yourself quickly, or you're going to be bouncing through timestamps like crazy on YouTube or another platform where you're watching a guide or following guide videos or whatever. So that is kind of difficult. And like I said, not every level happens every playthrough, which is also kind of confusing if, it's just kind of a mess. But thankfully, the game itself isn't very difficult, so it's not that big of a deal. If this was a really difficult game where you had to choose certain things to get certain achievements, it would make things a lot more difficult. And there are things you have to choose and things you have to accomplish to get those achievements in this game, but it's not too bad. We'll go over a quick analysis. The storyline is great. The gameplay is kind of lacking. There's really not a ton. It's a point and click game. So there are a couple puzzles you have to solve or whatever, but they're not difficult. The mechanics are, I would say, okay. There were a couple glitchy spots. There were a couple things that you would run into that you would, have a hard time platforming over or whatever. The graphics kind of lame. I really didn't like the graphics in this game, but I mean, they did do good with like color schemes, and it does look okay for, the type of graphics that it is. It's just not my favorite. And this isn't a very difficult game, honestly. Is it worth the price of $20? I wouldn't say so. I'd buy it for $10 if it was on sale. But I also have Game Pass, and that's where it's at right now. It's free on Xbox Game Pass if you have that. So that's a big perk. It's worth the grind. It's worth the gamer score. It's a pretty easy completion. Like I said, it only took me 7 hours. I played this one for a week, just, in my spare time, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't think I would have played it had no achievements, but I mean, if you're into stories and you're into, interesting political, entanglements, I don't even know what I would call it, then you might like this. But anyway, that's all I really have to say about Road 96. It's funny because I have a really complicated algorithm to come up with how to rate these games, and this one scored exactly 7 out of 10. So this is just a pretty run-of-the-mill average achievement hunter game. I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate the support. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, or if you want to see more of my content, you can follow me at Twitch at the Black Dish. I appreciate your love and support, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.